Now let's talk about, like, we've talked about Bitcoin, all your thoughts on Bitcoin, phenomenal stuff. Previously, when you were on my show, you said that you felt like Ethereum and all the other altcoins were, kind of basically like venture capital projects. And I really like the way that you put that. I've used that language a lot since that interview. It's a good way to explain to people kind of, the difference between Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is its own classification. I want to start with, one question about the Bitcoin market cap, and then I want to move into kind of the last question would be along the lines of other altcoins you think might do okay. I mean, you mentioned metaverse. We'll get into that. Do you think Bitcoin has to stay number one in market cap in crypto, or if, let's say, Ethereum were to pass it, or God forbid, Cardano or XRP or something like that? Do you think that would shake confidence in Bitcoin, or do you think Bitcoin is firmly cemented in kind of its niche, that it doesn't actually matter if more market cap flows into another project?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's crossed the event horizon. That is, it is universally acknowledged digital property, and the use case for digital property is certainly $100 trillion type market. And if you want digital property, you want something with a protocol that is so stable that 100 years from now, you don't expect any change. Even 1,000 years from now, you don't expect a change. I surveyed my Twitter followers, and on average, they think Bitcoin will be around for 3,800 years. Okay, so you want something which is a firm foundation that is not changing. And Bitcoin is really perfect for what it is. I think with regard to market cap numbers, the issue with market caps is if I have a very thin float, if only 1% of the tokens trade, then I can calculate a market cap, but that's not the same as the effective liquidity. What you really have to do is look at liquidity. And ultimately, I don't really think it makes sense to compare market caps to come to the conclusion. And even on a liquidity level, I don't think it matters that much. Like, for example, let's take Tether or a stable coin. They trade massive amount every day. If you go and you look, like,
for sure, yeah,
$40
absolutely.
billion a day. Okay, does that mean that Tether is going to replace Bitcoin? No. I think that the best way to think about this is there are different use cases. Do you have a digital exchange? Do you have digital art? Do you have a digital currency? Do you have a digital property? Bitcoin is digital property. It's not digital art. It's not a digital currency. A currency needs to be a medium of exchange you can transmit without a tax obligation in a compliant fashion. Otherwise, it's not a currency, right? So a stable coin can be a currency, if the regulators tolerate it. That's a currency. All these things have their own different market, and they have their own regulatory dynamics and their own competitive dynamics. And if you segment the market that way, Bitcoin's really competing against like-kind proof-of-work networks that aspire to be digital property. And you could probably say it's like the forks, and you saw what happened with Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and
Yeah.
they will be whatever they will be. And I think that if what you want is something that'll last hundreds of years, that's not going to change, then you want a Bitcoin because you value it. The fact that anything else launches and has a large or small market cap, or even a large or small liquidity, it's not going to change your desire any more than I own 10,000 acres and you own a cruise ship. And am I going to trade my 10,000 acres for a cruise ship? But there's different things,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I think. I think ultimately the fundamental point to be made with Bitcoin, especially as it pertains to MicroStrategy, is I look at it and I'm like, well, what would I trade it for that I want more in 100 years? Like, if your time horizon is 100 years, I wouldn't trade it for a stock in any company. I mean, you could give me Apple. I don't want Apple. I don't want Google, right? I don't want a building. I don't want a fleet of trucks. I don't want a bunch of diamonds. I don't want a stack of gold.
It sounds like a country song. I like it.
I don't want currency, right? I don't, you could give me all the Picassos in the world. I don't want them. I respect them. Fine. I'm not going to disrespect someone else that wants to hold Picassos. It's just not, it's not what I want. What I want is a non-sovereign synthetic asset, which is a commodity that I can move anywhere in the world, that is 1/21 millionth of all the energy in the network. And that's what that is. And so if you understand that, you understand it really is, it's competing with other bearer assets. It's competing with bonds and monetary indexes and equity indexes and real estate held as a long-term investment. Whereas, the other cryptos, they're competing with platforms and exchanges and banks and, and there are better ways to do things that have been done inefficiently, right? And they all they've got a different vision, a different mission, a different set of competitors, a different set of risks. And if the reason I say it's venture capital is, you want to be in that business, you got to think like a VC, and you got to be able to decompose and analyze all the risks and all the competitors and decide whether or not that risk reward makes sense for you, right? We're not venture capital as a MicroStrategy. I'm not a trader. I can't give you trading advice. Lord knows I bought Bitcoin at all-time highs and lost money. Well, like last week I bought it at 37,000 and it's up, but like the day after I bought it, it might've been down. It's like that stuff happens. I'm just a little engine that could. We're just going to keep dollar cost averaging as long as we can dollar cost average. I don't want to give anybody advice in an area. I'm not an expert. I'm not a venture capitalist. I'm not a speculator. I'm not a trader.